In Act 1, the watchmen are on duty guarding the wall. They invite a scholar, Horatio, to come and explain the ghost that they had seen earlier, but he invites Hamlet because the ghost had looked like his dead father. The guards say that the ghost hasn't appeared today yet. Suddenly, the ghost appears, and the watchmen and Horatio tell Hamlet not to follow the ghost because it might be dangerous. The Prince of Denmark, not listening to the advice of Horatio and Marcellus, runs to the ghost. The spirit reveals Hamlet how he was murdered by poison in his ear during he was asleep, and that the murderer is his own brother. He tells Hamlet to revenge his brother. Hamlet is shook and does not know what to do. After the conversation between Hamlet and the ghost ends, the watchman and Horatio ask, "What interesting did the ghost say?" Hamlet tells them that there's a murderer in Denmark. In Act 2, Claudius and Gertrude think that Hamlet's gone mad and they want to know why, so they call his best friends, Gildy and Rosie. They want to know why they'd been called, so Claudius tells them that their friend has gone full on wacko and they should go and spy on him immediately. Then in comes Polonius, and says that he might know the reason for Hamlet's insanity. He tells them that he snooped around his daughter's personal stuff and found some letters from Hamlet. So he is convinced that Hamlet is probably crazy in love with Ophelia, and he is sent to test that theory. Hamlet insults Polonius by calling him a fishmonger, and soon Polonius leaves. Next, Rosie and Gildy enter the room, and Hamlet does a heartlet-rant session with them. Suddenly, a bunch of actors arrive, and Hamlet plots with them to add a murder scene to the play, to see if Claudius acts suspiciously when he sees it. In Act 3, everyone is spying on Hamlet. They agree that the interest towards actors that Hamlet has is totally normal, and the royal family agrees to go and see the play. Hamlet then thinks to himself, "I kinda wanna die, but then again, what if the life after death is worse? Nah, I won't kill myself, for now at least." Then Ophelia comes to the room and says she loves Hamlet, to which he says that he no longer has feelings towards her, so he recommends her not to ever marry, and to stay a virgin until the end of her life. Hamlet exits, after which Claudius and Polonius come out from the curtain they were hiding behind before. Claudius announces he's sending Hamlet to England. Hamlet tells Horatio to pay attention to Claudius during the play, so he could catch the conscience of the king. The main characters of the play are a king and a queen, and eventually the king is poisoned. Claudius freaks out and leaves the room. Hamlet spies and wants to kill him, but since Claudius is praying, he decides to postpone it. Otherwise Claudius might get to go to heaven. Hamlet goes to her mother's room and blames her for being involved in the killing of his father. Polonius is lurking behind the curtains, and as Hamlet thinks it was Claudius, he stabs and kills him. Suddenly, the ghost of Hamlet's father enters the room. Gertrude does not see it, and therefore she thinks her son is mad. Hamlet denies it and reiterates that she should repent her marriage to Claudius, and tells her in particular to stay away from their shared bed from the night. After describing the importance of this absence in the most colorful terms, Hamlet reminds his mother that he is ordered to England with Rosie and Gildy, whom he doesn't trust. He exits his mother's bedroom, dragging the body of Polonius behind him. In Act 4, Hamlet goes to hide Polonius's body. The queen is shocked because of the murderer and tells Claudius what happened. Claudius then sends Gildy and Rosie to find Polonius' body and bring it back. They find Hamlet and inquire about the body, but Hamlet denies everything and calls Rosie a sponge, since he's such a suck-up, always ready to be squeezed empty for information. Rosie and Gildy then ask about Polonius again, but Hamlet outwits them, making the two confused, so they all eventually go back to Claudius. Back with the king, Rosie says that Hamlet won't reveal the body's whereabouts, which makes Claudius want to see him. Hamlet then makes a fool out of his uncle, by answering his question of where's Polonius, with he's at dinner, but it is not him who eats, but he's the one being eaten by the worms. Claudius, not being smart enough to understand Hamlet's witty talk, then sends him away to England with secret orders to kill him once he lands. He also sends Gildy and Rosie to make sure the execution would go smoothly. Then Ophelia comes and starts singing about her grief for her dad and how Hamlet's betrayed her in a rather insane way. When she's gone, the king sends Horatio to keep an eye on her. Laertes demands Claudius to tell him about his father and finds out about the murder. He then gets all revengey, and he and Claudius make an agreement in which Laertes would get his revenge. Gertrude brings them upsetting news. Ophelia is dead. In Act 5, Hamlet appears back in Denmark and tells Horatio all about his epic adventures involving pirates, falsifying documents, and his life as a rebel prince. For some reason they do that in a graveyard during nighttime, and Hamlet finds a skull that he suddenly feels really sad about. And of course, as luck would have it, it's the same graveyard where the king and queen along with Laertes are currently burying Ophelia. Although Ophelia committed suicide, she is allowed to be secretly buried at the graveyard because the king asked for it to be done. Laertes is so heartbroken over his sister's death, so he gets all dramatic and jumps into the grave. When Hamlet finds out Ophelia's death, he also jumps into the grave, which makes them both get very competitive and start brawling. In the end, they decide to have a duel. Hamlet gets Rosie and Gildy executed instead of himself. Before the duel, Claudius and Laertes agree to kill Hamlet, so Laertes poisons his sword and Claudius poisons a cup of wine. Gertrude accidentally drinks from the cup. Laertes wounds Hamlet with his sword and they get into a fight, in which Hamlet gets a hold of Laertes' sword and wounds him. Gertrude dies and Laertes says the poison was Claudius' idea. So Hamlet stabs the king with the poisoned sword and makes him drink from the poisoned cup. Hamlet and Laertes forgive each other and Hamlet tells Horatio to tell everybody the truth. Now they're all dead and Fortinbras becomes the new king of Denmark.